Hi guys, welcome back to another video. Today we are going to be chatting about my favorite reads of 2024. I know we're a few days into the new year, but better late than never. 2024 was definitely the year of testing my patience because I feel like I was in so many reading slumps this year that I didn't even read a ton of books. So the books that I did read, I mean, some of them were great because I was like, oh my gosh, I'm out of my reading slump. And then they were so great that I got put back into reading slump. So this is a fun stack of books and I'm really hoping that you guys enjoy them. And if you haven't read them, add them to your TBR. So without further ado, let's get into it. Going in order of when I read them, the first book is Mile High by Liz Tomford. This one has tons of mixed reviews, but for me, I really enjoyed it. I loved the forbiddenness of it that's kind of more set in a contemporary way. I feel like sometimes forbidden can be very taboo, can be very dark, but this one was done very well. He is a playboy entitled hockey player and she is the flight attendant that is hired by the hockey team to attend the team when traveling and stuff like that. It is a no fraternizing policy when they are traveling for the games. Like the tension built up is so good and he does not like her. He tries not to like her only because she's not falling at his feet. So he makes it his mission to make her life miserable and want her to quit. He redeems himself in the end. And yeah, this one was really good. I really want to read the rest of the series. This is the only one that I have read in this series. I don't even know what the series is called. So very excited and yeah, definitely enjoyed this one. Next up is Butcher and Blackbird by Brynne Weaver. This is book one in the Ruinous Love trilogy. I have read the second book. This one is still my favorite. I feel like the first book of every kind of like series, interconnected series, is always the best. I don't know what it is, but this one really did it for me.
Sorry, there is nothing to repeat.
That scared me. Oh my god. Oh my god, that scared me. They are two serial killers who are competing against each other to kill this main guy that they're looking for. It is like a friends to lovers type of vibe, but the way that they meet in the first scene, crazy, insane. This book is just, I listened to it on audio and I loved it. I loved it. I read it or I listened to it on a road trip, finished the whole thing in that road trip, and I was like fiending for more. It was like the best way I could have read it. But there are so many iconic scenes in here that I still think about to this day. The longing on his end, because she is just very like closed off. There's a reason that she's killing all these people. And when they do work together, it's like every year they get together and they will have like a list of people that they're gonna kill. And once a year, after they're done planning it, they'll get together and go down this list, and whoever is able to kill that person first wins. So like whoever has the most wins gets to kill the main guy that they're after. So the ending was perfect. The length was, I'd never felt like anything was dragged on or that something really could have been missed. I just think everything was perfection. Next up is Powerless by Elsie Silver. 2024 was definitely the year that I got into the Chestnut Spring series, and this one left a lasting impression on me. Jasper is the heartthrob hockey player, and Sloane is his childhood best friend. Something happens at her wedding, and he swoops in and takes her and removes her from the situation, and they go on a road trip together. The longing in this, I feel like, as I've mentioned, I feel like so many times, friends to lovers isn't my god tier trope. It's like not the worst trope in my opinion, but like, it's not my favorite, but it's not the worst. Does that make sense? I feel like sometimes it's not done very well, and aside from Butcher and Blackbird and Powerless, I never felt like once that it was like unrealistic, because I feel like with childhood friends to lovers, it's kind of like, it's like an instant, like all of a sudden they're obsessed with them and they want to be with them, and it's kind of like, well, you guys have been friends for years. I don't understand why now all of a sudden. You know what I mean? Maybe that's just a me thing. It says, so this is my special edition copy, and on the back, one road trip to get away from everything. That's all this was supposed to be. After all, I've been living in the friend zone for years now. The crawling scene? No, guys, because this is crazy. No, because I'm blushing. Okay, we gotta stop. Anyway, loved this one. Okay, next up is A Kingdom of Stars and Shadows. I have only read the first 3 books. This is a 4-book series, but the last book is about a different couple. So I am going to highlight mainly the first book because the first book I gave 5 stars. The other 2 I gave 4 stars. The story of it was amazing, was perfection. This is like the perfect fantasy as someone who is not, I don't hate fantasy, but I don't read it a ton, so sometimes it's really hard for me to follow fantasy, and I feel like this one was done in like the perfect way for my little pea-sized brain to understand. She is promised by the stars to marry the prince. However, the prince is a terrible person, and before she's being shipped off to the castle basically to marry the prince, she has a run-in with a mysterious man. She has this like chemistry with him, and then like it's like undeniable, and she has no idea who he is. She never sees him again after that, and then when she gets to the castle she does run into him again and realize like, what the heck, this is that guy. Turns out it's the prince's brother. So this one you do get the forbidden romance between them two. There's something about like a big castle and you're sneaking around the castle, and also he's a shadow daddy. So a lot of the things that they do, he makes them disappear so no one can see what they're doing. Yeah. The plot in the first one was amazing. I felt like the longing in this one, because they're trying so hard not to give in to their attractions to each other, especially with the stakes that they're in, like it's very high. However, loved the first book. Book 2 and 3 definitely still had the plot going. Like each book leaves off on a cliffhanger, and so I never felt like, I did feel compelled to continue reading the series. However, I also feel like there was just way too much smut, and that's coming from me. Like I just felt like it was like something was happening and it was like, okay, here we go, and then they, you know, hook up, and I'm like, okay guys, come on, like people are dying, we gotta go. Give it up, give it a rest, it's okay. So that was the only thing that I would change, was considering they're all very small, like short books, like I feel like it does really get to the point very quickly, but you easily could have made it 1 book if they didn't hook up as much. So that's just me, that is just my opinion, but nonetheless, I still really like the series. I gave book 1 5 stars, and then book 2 and 3 4 stars. Let's talk Vicious Secret by Morgan Bridges. This is a dark stalker romance. If you love The Ritual by Chantal Tessier, have not read that one, but I've heard it's been compared to a little bit. I think that you would really like this, only because there's still that like secret society type thing. Like he is celibate for the first 3 years of him in college, and then because he is like following the orders of the secret society, and then when he's a senior he's given a bride that he has to marry for 1 year. However, the girl that he wants to marry is the girl that he's been stalking for years. Her foster brother is going into the secret society, and he is tasked with watching over the foster brother. So one night, the first night that they meet, while he's watching over him, he sees her and is like immediately obsessed. Like, who is that? I want her. She's never gonna get away from me kind of vibes. And that's how it all starts. So he watches her until she gets into the college, because now her foster brother has disappeared and she's trying to figure out what's happening. So she goes to the same college and she ends up finding him. And she also meets the MMC here, and not knowing that he's been watching her. And what's really fun is when they are gifted the bride on their senior year, the way that it's done is a bride chase, and so they're all wearing masks and they just like let the girls go in the woods, and you have to catch your bride in order to claim her as yours for a year. So this is a duet. Book 1 is Vicious Secret. I gave this one 5 stars. Loved every second of it. And book 2 is Secret Society. Very good. So you definitely have to read them in order. And they are very short, so I feel like they're a very quick, fun read. If you love the stalker romance, if you love dark romance, like this is totally up your alley. I loved this book. I'm gonna include these two books together here. They have nothing to do with each other than they're by the same author, and that is Pen Pal by J.T. Geisinger and Perfect Strangers by J.T. Geisinger. These books are kind of similar themed, if you will. Not the same story or crazy plot twist, but they are the two of her books that are just like batshit crazy. I don't want to say they're like psychological thrillers because they're not scary or anything like that. Like there's still romance in these. The blurb is very vague. So I would definitely recommend going into these 1000% blind. Avoid the TikToks, avoid the reviews, like literally go MIA when you decide to pick these books up, because I avoided TikTok, I avoided Goodreads like it was the plague when I was reading these because I was so terrified that something was going to be spoiled. So unfortunately, I'm not going to really give you too much about these. Just know that they are 5-star reads for me. These were my top 2 reads of 2024. If I had to choose, this one is like a little bit higher. Like the plot twist was way crazy on this one. This one still crazy, but like this one really altered me. I adored these books so much. I'm a huge J.T. Geisinger fan, and read the acknowledgements of these as well, because the acknowledgements will just hit it where it hurts. Like it is just, these books are so well done. Anyone I know, I beg them to read it. Even my friends who are non-readers, like I will either tell them the whole plot and they're like shook to their core, or I'm begging them to read it. These two are my all-time favorites, and 5 stars, 5 million stars. Up next is the 4 books in the Syndicate of the Legion series. Yeah. So these are 4 books. It is a completed series. It is a dark Why Choose romance. If there's one way that I could convince you to read these, let this be it. I'm a girly who needs the series to be completed in order to read them, because number one, I'm a mood reader. I could devour the first book and be fiending for the next one, but the next one doesn't come out until the following year, a few months later. And at that time when it finally comes out, I don't really care anymore. I mean, I do, but like, I want to read something else and I don't remember how it ended. So typically I will try to aim to read series that are completed to avoid this. This series, I was reading them as they were coming out. Granted, she came out with all 4 books in a year, so we were being fed. It was like coming out like every 2 months almost. They did not disappoint. Each book leaves off on a cliffhanger, so you do have to read them in order. First book is In the Shadows, also by Montana Fire. She's an icon. Her dark romance books are batshit crazy, but in the best way possible for the girlies who love dark romances. I think you'll really love Montana Fire. Her backlist is just incredible. So many more that I still have on my TBR, but this series really did it for me. She is going to be raised to be a mafia queen. Her father promises her to a mafia, the head of the mafia, who is a terrible person. Like, he's awful. And this isn't the love interest. Like, this guy's really crazy. Her father is like actually scared for her at this point, so he tries to convince her to run away. And she does run away on the night that she's supposed to be promised to him. However, she doesn't get very far because they find her in an alley. And they beat her until near death. So she is left in the alleyway. They leave her there because they assume she's dead. And all of a sudden, all 4 guys, well, one of them finds her and is immediately enthralled by her. Like, holy crap, she's beat up. What's going on? Wait, why is she kind of pretty? And he brings her in. And all of them are like, what the hell? Who is this? And when they realize who it is, they're like, oh, we're screwed. Because essentially what their position is in the mafia world is they are the middleman that keeps everybody happy. So they are not in their own, they're not like, they're a part of a mafia. They're like the main center people guys who make sure everybody's happy and there's no wars breaking out in the streets of where they live. I think it's New York. But they know that they're screwed because they're like, no, we can't get involved in this, because they already hate us for not allowing a war to break out here. That if they find out that she's with us, when she's promised to this guy who is like the worst, we're screwed. However, one of the guys is like, oh no, she's not leaving. Like, we love her. Anyways, so all four, you get different romances with each of them. Like, you have one that's, I don't want to say insta-lovey because it's not like that, but it's a little bit more like he feels drawn to her right off the bat. But I'm not a huge insta-love girl, but it's like the best way to kind of explain it, but it's not super like cringy insta-lovey, if that makes sense. Then there's another who is more like enemies to lovers. There's another who is forbidden because one of them is the son, the other is the father, and then the other two guys are like, not step cousin, but like they bring them in so they're friends. But one of the guys, his dad is a part of it. So his dad is also drawn to her while his son is also drawn to her. So that sounds really crazy. And then another one is literally insane. Like at one point, one of them carves mine in her thigh. And when I found that hot, I knew that was a problem because I immediately thought of Guilty as Sin by Taylor Swift. I'm busting out my special editions for these reviews. Next up is Dead Man Walking by Gianna Darling. This is a part of the Fallen Men series. This is the 6th book in the Fallen Men series. They are all interconnected standalones. You can read them out of order. But if you want to read them in order, they're all amazing. I love all of them. Book 6 is my favorite, Dead Man Walking. Priest is the main guy in the biker gang who deletes people from this world. She is the innocent Catholic girl that runs a murder mystery podcast who also may or may not have a dark side to her that she doesn't really understand. And when she sees Priest for the first time and she's so attracted, enthralled, interested in Priest, she soon finds out maybe there is another side to me that is curious but has never been able to act on it because I am a church girly. Perhaps. She has a podcast that is basically like a murder mystery. There is someone out there who is very interested in her podcast, and they are sending her different signs and different things that kind of freak her out into thinking like someone's after me. So they make Priest watch over her, and he's there to protect her. Then he becomes obsessed with her and he kind of stalks her a little bit. However, she becomes obsessed with him and also tries to stalk him a little bit. However, he's the OG stalker. He's the OG crazy man. He knows that she's stalking him and he kind of likes it. Heartless by Elsie Silver. This is a single dad nanny romance. Cade Eaton is everybody's favorite, and for good reason. She is a nanny for the most grumpiest single dad's son. There is an age gap here. He is 13 years older than her. Willa is the most iconic FMC. Like, she is the character everybody wants to be friends with in real life. Like, she is hilarious. She is witty. She won't take any shit from anybody. There's at one point where he is trying to get her to quit as being the nanny, and she's like, all right, I'm leaving then. And he's like, wait, no, don't go. And she's like, well, beg for me to stay. Like, that's so iconic. How are you gonna tell a grumpy, hot single dad to beg for you to stay? Next up is The Bonus by Teal Swan. This is a boss employee type of romance. Grace Porter is our FMC, who is the assistant of this super hot grumpy boss. She has been in love with him for years. That's literally how it starts, is her coming to terms that she's just so in love with him and that he's never gonna give her the time of day, and she's had enough. She's like, I have stopped living my life. Like, I won't leave, I won't go on vacation, I won't do anything because I always just want to be around him, and enough is enough. My life is passing me by. I've got to quit. Like, I can't do this anymore. So she does just that. She quits, and he is not happy about it. He is angry, trying to get her to stay, that they have a super hot night. I'm not gonna give any more information here because I don't want to spoil it. You guys, like, this book is, first of all, she's thick. This was an impulse read for me at like 10 o'clock at night, and all of a sudden the sun was coming up and the book was over, and I was like, what the hell just happened and why was this so good? Like, this book was just utter chaos, and you know when a book is just so crazy and so tension filled, but like the craziest shit is happening in here, and for some reason you cannot stop reading it. Like, I just couldn't stop reading it. I was obsessed with this book. Like, I could not go to sleep. I had to read the whole entire thing to find out what was gonna happen. He is like terrible. He is grumpy, he is mean, but he redeems himself in the end. Because I loved it so much and because I was so obsessed with it, that's what makes it a 5-star read for me. Next up is Gratified by Caitlin Taylor. This is a like everything in one forbidden romance. He is her godfather, dad's best friend. He is her ex-boyfriend's dad. And also her boss because she interns for him for the summer. This forbidden romance is everything I ever wanted it to be. It is perfectly done. The longing in it, again, I feel like with forbidden romance, as I mentioned before, it's very, sometimes can be very taboo and not done very well. And for this one, I think it was done perfectly, appropriately lengthed. And I think that the longing and the tension between them, the slow burn between them, because they know it's wrong, but she just doesn't care. But he's like, no, this is bad. Like, we can't do this. And that's what makes a forbidden romance so good, is the longing and the tension and the pining. And when they finally give in, unreal. Definitely recommend this one, 5 stars. I feel like I talk about this one so much, but that's the premise, is all those tropes in one, and that it's forbidden. And I think you should read it because it's great. Then I read Wild Love by Elsie Silver. This book, this is first book in the Rose Hill series. This is what she's currently writing. The series is Small Town with Single Dads. This one is Brother's Best Friend. She's been driving him wild for years, the good kind of wild, the bad kind of wild, but mostly the kind of wild that comes with wanting your best friend's little sister and knowing you can't have her. Then also opens like a recording studio in this small town, and she helps him and like starts to work for him for a little bit. This one is so good. The tension in this is unreal. Last and certainly not least is the Ruthless Boys series by Caroline Peckham and Suzanne Valenti. This is book 1. This is Dark Fae. This one is, if you love the Zodiac Academy series, apparently you're supposed to read the first 3 books of Zodiac Academy and then get into Ruthless Boys because they do get mentioned in the Zodiac Academy series. So that's what I did. I actually did pause halfway through Zodiac book 4, got into the Ruthless Boys series. I still have to read the last book. There's 5 books in the series, so I've read the first 4. This is a Why Choose romance. Her brother goes to Aurora Academy and something happens to him and he ends up dead. So now she's trying to figure out what happened, who killed him, because there's a lot of secrets that nothing's making sense and she wants to get to the bottom of it. So she goes to attend Aurora Academy and she meets all the men in this, and they are so good, so good. The tension, the slow burn in this is actually crazy and so well done. Like the golden retriever, you have the one that's like the misunderstood, and then you have the other one who is like the scariest guy on the campus, and then you have the other one who is in the rival gang and they hate each other but they both love her. Anyways, she brings them all together and they all end up very happy together. Those are all of the books that I loved in 2024. I know that was quite a lot. I had so many great reads this year and I'm so excited for what 2025 is going to bring. I've already read so many books already within the first 2 weeks that were in 2025. So I'm really excited to do a wrap up of those. And yeah, I hope you guys liked it. Let me know if you've read any of these books or if you were gonna add them to your TBR. And I would love to hear your thoughts on any of these. So thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you guys in my next video very soon. Bye!